This video is about a research paper on greenhouse gases emission reporting. The focus is on voluntary corporate greenhouse gases emission disclosures in the context of a market governance system in the absence of public policy regarding climate change in Australia. A study conducted by Michaela Rankin, Caroline Windsor, and myself, Dina Wahyuni. I'll start off with the aim of the study. Our study looked at the determinants of voluntary greenhouse gases emission disclosures by Australian firms. In particular, we aim to investigate two main points. First, factors that associate with the Australian firm's decision to provide voluntary greenhouse gases emission reporting in 2007. And for those disclosing firms, factors that relate to the extent and credibility of their voluntary greenhouse gases emission reporting. Institutional governance theory is introduced here to explain proactive corporate response to climate change in the Australian context. This theory is used to examine the hypothesized links between voluntary emission reporting, internal governance system, and private regulation to guide greenhouse gases emission disclosure from external parties. Turning now to the research method. We studied greenhouse gases emission disclosure in a voluntary setting in 2007. It is a point in time when global warming and climate change risks are acknowledged on the international stage as a crucial issue for a corporation, and when a cap-and-trade scheme had been proposed in Australia, but before any mandatory reporting of corporate greenhouse gases emission was required in Australia. Since the 1st of July 2008, Australian firms that meet certain thresholds have to report their greenhouse gases emission and energy use to a government agency. The sample of this study includes all of the top 300 firms listed in Australian Securities Exchange. Initially, we collected 295 firms that were recorded in the ASX 300 as at 26 of August 2008. But then, we decided to study 187 firms as the final sample, because the rest of them did not meet all testing requirements in our model. We use a two-stage approach to analyze the data. First, we want to investigate the propensity to disclose emission for ASX 300 firms as the sample. The first model includes both internal and external factors that relate to decision to provide or not provide voluntary greenhouse gases disclosures. Therefore, we use binary choice logistic regression to test 187 firms that have all the testing requirements. Then we proceed to the next one. The second model is to test whether the internal organizational system and the external factors that are likely to impact on voluntary emission disclosure also relate to the extent and credibility of disclosure. To measure the extent and credibility of emission disclosure, we design an index based on the guidance provided in ISO 14064 Part 1. It is a standard that details guidance on what should be included in a publicly available greenhouse gases report. We use an OLS regression to test this more complex measure on a subsample of 80 disclosing firms as the dependent variables. Interestingly, we find evidence that 80 firms out of 187 Australian firms that we analyzed, that is around 43%, provided voluntary greenhouse gases emission report for the year 2007. That was before the government required them to report this information to a government agency starting from 2008. They disclose emission information in their annual report and or standalone sustainability disclosure. Based on Model 1, firms are more likely to present voluntary greenhouse gases emission disclosure when they have an EMS or environmental management system in place, either certified or uncertified, have stronger governance system, make publicly available disclosure to the CDP or Carbon Disclosure Project, are larger in size, and operate in either the energy and mining or industrial sector. When we evaluate the extent and credibility of disclosure by the subsample of 80 disclosing firms using Model 2, we find that they are more likely to have an EMS that is ISO 14001 certified. Use the Global Reporting Initiative or GRI to guide their sustainability disclosure and disclose to the CDP with those disclosure being publicly available. Firms that provide more credible emission disclosure also tend to be larger and operate within the energy and mining, industrial, or services sectors. In a nutshell, we provide evidence of Australian firms' willingness to move to a carbon-low future in the absence of public policy. These proactive companies have implemented organizational systems, but also have relied on external private guidance provided by GDP and GRI to publicly disclose their responses to climate change risks, including greenhouse gases emission data. Well, that's all from me. For more detail about this research, the article is available in the recently released edition of AAAJ, Accounting, Auditing and Accountability Journal in November 2011, Volume 24, Number 8. It is a special issue on climate change and greenhouse gas. Thanks very much for watching.